Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Rakesh Shah. We've met before, and today I have a really cool guest for you. His name is Bill McLaughlin. I've seen Bill around the hospital periodically, but figured, you know what? He's got a really interesting background, so let's bring him in today and let me introduce you to Bill.
Hello, Dr. Rakesh. Thank you for having me here.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us.
Oh, you just mentioned around the hospital. You and I have probably passed in the hallway 100 times, maybe more, because I didn't know you were there for that long, and you didn't know I was wandering around either. Of course, in the last year, we all were wearing masks, but
yeah.
before that, I'm sure that
you looked very familiar as soon as you walked in the door, and I'm like, wait, I usually talk to mostly everyone, but somehow I think our paths may have just crossed in passing and so forth. But nonetheless, I'm excited to get to know you.
Well, at the hospital, people should know, I was doing wheelchair transport, which I did part-time. I met the ambulance company, the director of the ambulance company, when I was teaching at Bucks County Community College, because I worked in the theater department there. I taught you improvisational comedy.
Wait, time out. So you were teaching comedy, so
yes.
Are you a professor then?
Yeah, well, that's what some of my students would call me. I never did. Professor.
So it's doctor meets doctor.
Thanks. I'll take it.
All right.
Just like Dr. Oz, sort of. Not really. But no, I was there.
And then I'd have to call you a wizard.
Yes, you will. At the college, I just did it part-time. I was there as part-time faculty, 1 day a week. But I did it because when I was in New York, I was in New York for 25 years with the top improv comedy groups. And I taught professional actors and people like that. And I came down, and I knew some people at the college. And I said, I'd like to teach 1 day a week. Mm-hmm. It was the best experience I've ever had.
Oh, I can only imagine.
I was there for 10 years. Now, some of my former students are out in Los Angeles. They're with the major companies out there. I see them on these videos on YouTube or some TV shows and stuff. I said, those are my guys. Those are my guys, you know, and it was amazing, and it's improvisational comedy. Some of your viewers might be familiar with Whose Line Is It Anyway? So it's that. Sure. Yes, it's that type of thing where you take a suggestion, you have no script, and away you go. And the amazing thing about it was the director of the auditorium said to me, you know, after your class, the kids seem smarter, and I said that's because they have to do everything. They are the writer, director, performer at the same time. So they have to listen. They have to be aware. And I say, play to the height of your intelligence. Don't come out here and be cute and stupid. Right. That's not going to work. And it's not going to help anybody else. So they had to push themselves to be as smart as they were.
I'm always intrigued by comedy because when I see a really amazing comedian, to me, they are extremely bright. They're able to take a common situation and elevate it to a whole different level, or take a social situation that we're dealing with, maybe nationally or internationally, completely turn it on upside down on its head. But that takes a lot of energy, intelligence to craft it into a story that's funny, yet sensitive.
Yeah, but Conan O'Brien said when he is showing off the air, and he said, the amazing thing was making stupid intelligent. Yeah. We would do the stupidest, silliest things, but you had to figure out a smart way to do it. What's going on here? What's the parody? What's the satire? Yeah. What statement's going on underneath?
So tell me, how did you stimulate those kids to elevate themselves, to bring out that hidden talent?
Well, you know, the first few times someone would be in my class, they would be like, I don't know what's going on. They're afraid. Yeah. And there's so many social things that once you become a young adult, everything's scary and you don't want to embarrass yourself. I said, first of all, it's improv. You can fall on your face. It's okay. If you're not failing, you're not trying. Right. This is not skydiving. You'll get back up. It's okay, right? You can fail here. And the thing is, be fearless. You're going to make mistakes, but don't repeat the mistakes. Learn from your success. You can add to your success. And when they did something right, I would jump on it. When something worked, I'd say, why did that work? What did you just do? You were listening, you took what that person said, and you improved upon it, and you fed it back to them. And I would talk about achieving collective mind. You're all on the same page.
Yeah.
You're all helping each other. And that would happen. They would become more intelligent simply by, some sort of symbiotic relationship as they were working. And they began to realize, I do have that potential. Yeah. People were hiding. I would just look at somebody, you were hiding that from me?
Yeah.
Third or fourth class, they would come out with something brilliant. And I said, how dare you hide that from me? And they suddenly realized that when they were fearless, when they stopped telling themselves they couldn't do something, they could suddenly do it.
Sure.
I got them past that point where they're like, well, that's too risky. Take a risk.
Isn't that the job of a comedian, though?
Yeah.
To take that risk?
Yeah.
If anybody, in my opinion, gets sort of a free pass at just about anything, is a comedian. Right. What do you think?
Well, the comedian, the comedian, an individual who does stand-up comedy, which is this, I was in ensemble comedy. That is a thing. And I have a friend, Eddie Pepitone, and I saw him recently when he was here. He has Netflix specials and all that. And he has honed his act down. It's so amazing. He's totally in control of his personality on stage and can do whatever he wants. Where he's this raging lunatic, he's originally from Brooklyn, and then he'll step back and make a comment about his own performance. He's using theatrical license in the middle of his act to actually, he'll go out in the audience and heckle himself and go back on stage. It's like any device he wants to use, he's using, and that's a certain freedom.
Yeah.
He's not worried about jokes.
Very empowering.
Yeah, and it's like your humor comes from making a strong statement, but having a way of making that statement that puts a tremendous flavor on it.
Exactly.
And the best comedians I see know how to add those comments that illustrate the point that they're making. You're illustrating the absurdity of what you're talking about.
Exactly.
And the better your example, the more absurd your example, the more you nail it on the head, the more hysterical it is.
Yeah.
And there's an Irish comedian by the name of Dylan Moran who just, he pulls things out of thin air when he's talking about stuff. He says, oh, you know what, America, when they're exploring the world, doing an imperialistic thing, they're looking for oil or chocolate or whatever. And he just throws in things like, those things don't match up. Well, actually they do. I don't know how he does. He just keeps dropping things in there that seem like non sequiturs, but they're perfect. They fit perfectly.
They just manages to make it work.
So with stand-up, I've done a little stand-up, and I should go back and do more because it was working. Yeah. And it was just finding things that you have something to talk about. Now, how do you make it entertaining? Interesting, entertaining. How do you drive that point home?
Okay, so that's a great segue. How do you capture that audience's attention? That to me is
First
riveting.
of all, you have to be comfortable with yourself. Yeah. You get up there, and you can tell the difference when someone's getting up there and trying to be funny. And I would tell them, don't try to be funny. Right. You're human. It'll come. Yeah. Human beings are funny. Tragically funny. Hideously funny. But they're funny. That will come. The humor will come by being human, because we are so incomplete as beings. We're so fallible. And all you have to do is be real with that. Yeah. So whatever you're delivering, you're going to bring it out. And they would do scenes that sometimes they would get into being so realistic with it, they wouldn't even realize that they were being realistic. Yeah. There was like a brother-sister.
So they're completely immersed into it.
They were having a brother-sister thing about who was going to tell on who. And so the young man in the scene was the older brother, and the young woman was the little sister. And at one point, he says, well, I'm going to tell Mom and Dad you did this. And she went, no. And everybody lost it because they suddenly were really older brother and little sister.
Yes.
And I said, see, that's
they
much
were living
funnier.
in the moment.
Yeah, they were. That's a big term. Be in the moment, and let the character do the work. I tell people, and all of a sudden, yes, people make such ridiculously bad choices in life that they're absurd. You don't have to work that hard to make a joke, because we can hear when you're trying to make a joke.
We've all been there, right?
But when you nail that ridiculous behavior of your uncle or your mom or that guy you went to school with, you nail that, the absurdity that you had to deal with that person, it is painfully funny, but it's real. And I've taught in London and New York and Philly, Houston. I love traveling.
Sure.
There's a world out there of people I connected with, thanks, of course, to social media. And
so wait, time out.
Yeah.
You traveled on social media, or did you actually go to
I
these
went there.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just making sure.
No, that's how I met people.
Okay.
Because on Facebook, there'd be something, a group, improvisational performers worldwide, something like that. So I'd find these companies. And I'd also find companies, everybody that has a company, a theater company or whatever, joins these groups, and you hear all these things. And I would contact somebody, send them my resume. Oh, yes, we'd love to have you come teach. Oh, yeah, that'd be wonderful. And London was the best. I went over and I coached a group over there, and then I taught workshops. My daughter came with me one time.
Nice.
And she had just graduated from NYU. So she came with me. She wanted to go back. She spent her first year in London.
Okay.
Yeah, NYU has a campus there. And so she comes with me, and we did this workshop, and it just, everything I asked them to do, they were brilliant. They just, these are people who know how to be students. They just hang on every word you say. And slowly, the workshop just built up to better and better and better. And they're doing these brilliant scenes. I made them slow down. Listen, don't be in a hurry. Hear everything, every opportunity that's being presented to you. Everything everybody else says is a gift, and you can use it. And they did this. They built on it, and it was just amazing. And the director said, "Your daughter's aces." I said, "She's been around this for a long time." But it was so funny. I mean, we got done. People were giving us hugs and everything. It's like, okay, I didn't know the English did that.
Clearly pre-pandemic levels.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is a few years back. But the thing about what I did is it led to so many other things.
Sure.
Because we were in this group. I was in a couple of groups. I'm one of the founding members of Chicago City Limits. And that started in Chicago. I studied at Second City out there, very well-known establishment. And then we got to New York, established our own theater. I eventually left them after the director died. I didn't like what was going on, so I went with another group called the First Amendment, the most talented, funniest group in New York in the 1980s. That's where I met my writing partner, Joe Pearce. And Joe and I started working in corporate entertainment.
Okay.
And because New York is not Hollywood, it's
right.
Okay, let's go to corporate entertainment. They sent us everywhere. And we were writing, at that point, we're writing shows, we're casting. Oh, of course, we always cast our friends. Sure. So, hey, where are we going this week? San Francisco. Where are we going tomorrow? Italy.
Okay.
Well, the Bahamas. Okay. Corporations were throwing money around like they were printing it at that time.
Right.
This is before the economic collapse and everything. But we were riding high on that. And these days, mostly I'm working the Eastern Corridor. And in fact, I'll be up in Connecticut Wednesday on a corporate job.
Okay.
Yeah, and I get to see Joe again. Because I said, "Hey, Joe, you available?" Yeah, okay. He lives in Connecticut.
The best of both worlds.
Yeah,
yes.
It led to so many other opportunities. So I do voiceovers. I built a studio in my house because when COVID hit, nothing was happening outside of that.
Right. You were doing everything virtually.
Yeah,
then.
and I had to look online. I didn't want to teach virtually. It didn't appeal to me at all.
Yeah.
I want to be with people. Yeah. In fact, I was able to teach the past couple of months, finally, with an actual class and run a show and stuff. It was great. Yeah.
So what was it like performing virtually? Because
performing virtually.
What's that?
Performing virtually.
Yeah, like on Zoom and
I tried that with some former students of mine. We got together and did things. And it was okay. It's fun. And I had friends out in LA. and I would catch their show. They had a regular YouTube show where they did improv online, and it was all right. But
it's not the same,
there's
right?
not, I don't know, something about the organic feel of being in a place.
It's the energy.
And seeing people. And that's especially about improvisational comedy. Everybody knows there's no safety net.
Right.
You're out there without a script. This is not a play.
Right.
We're all taking a risk here.
Yeah.
And the energy of it is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. The connection that you have with your audience and the connection that you have with the reality, the spontaneous reality of being in the same place with people.
So were you always in comedy?
Pretty much. When I went out to Chicago, I had studied out here, and some people that I was studying with had gone to Northwestern. And I was thinking, oh, Northwestern sounds good, I'll go there. I got out there, and the next thing I knew, my sister said, oh, you should go see this improv show. They're auditioning people. Because I got into a play right away when I got out there, and I was mainly doing acting. I had never seen improvisational comedy before.
Okay.
So we go to this little place, Sylvester's Pub, and I see a comedy group, an improv group. I said, you can do anything. There's no casting.
Right.
It's like you can play a gangster and not look like him. You can play a cowboy and not look like him. You can be anybody. This is amazing.
Right.
I was like a kid in a candy shop. And so I talked to the director afterwards. And his name was Joe. I won't say his last name. I don't know what he's doing these days. But I said, yeah, you're looking for people. He said, oh, yeah, give me a call tomorrow. Or, there was something strange about his attitude. So I called him the next day. He says, well, last night the group broke up.
Oh,
But there is this guy, George, who's trying to put something together. So I called George, and he's the same thing. Yeah, okay. We're in this church basement next Tuesday. Come on by. I had never had any training, and pretty much everybody who was there at the audition had been taking workshops at Second City. But I saw what it was. This is play. It's adult play, but it's play. And you get in there, and you give everything you can, and pay attention to what's going on around you, so you make sure it fits and benefits whatever's happening. And I just a wide array of characters and stuff like that. They said, you're in. And then they introduced me to the workshops at Second City, where I met Del Close, who was a legendary teacher of improv and a director. And after that, it was just
it was just
took off.
one thing after another.
That's no looking back.
Yeah. Was it always your calling, or is that just something that...
I think it was.
Yeah.
Because
you think back to high school and...
Yeah, I was in plays. I always liked me, but I always was leaning toward comedy.
Yeah.
And as far as improvisation was concerned, it just seemed like a very natural thing to me, because I joke around with my friends, and I wouldn't say one funny thing. I'd add on and on and on, free associate whatever was going on. And sometimes I thought I was repeating somebody's comedy routine. And I'd say, I'm talking about what we're doing right now. Flip Wilson didn't talk about, George Carlin didn't talk about that. I'm talking about it right now. I'm just going with what's happening in the moment. And I didn't realize it then, the technical terms that would be used in improv. But yeah, I was literally in the moment, connecting all these disconnected things, called gestalt, and saying, yeah, they do match up, and, the fall of Rome and that pie that you bought, same thing.
It's just a matter of
There's
connecting the dots somehow.
It's right there. It's the same thing. It's that pizza you tried to make.
Don't you see it? It's kind of like hallucinations.
It's just right in front of my face. You didn't see that? That is the funny thing about, especially in improv, you actually kind of see where it's like an athlete. An athlete can't think about what they're going to do.
Right.
They have to make choices. They have to see the moment and make choices that fit the moment to succeed in what they're doing. Same thing in improvisational comedy. And one of the things that Del Close at Second City talked about was the dichotomy of performance, where if you get to a certain point where you're so relaxed with performing and having so much fun and in control of it, you're watching you perform.
Yeah.
So one of you is performing, and the other part of you is watching you actually perform.
Sure.
And you just feel that. I can see where I'm going to go. I can see what choices I'm going to make. And it's just too much fun.
I get the feeling, the more I listen to you, and the more I think about the different comedy shows that I've seen, whether it was improv or just stand-up, not just stand-up, but stand-up, it's painting a movie, literally, for me to visualize the whole set in my mind. You know, so where did you grow up?
I grew up in Bucks County. Well, we were in Philadelphia, Northeast Philly.
Oh, whereabouts?
Near Cottman Avenue.
Sure.
On Algard Street.
Sure.
I remember the first street.
I'm a Philly boy myself, so.
Whereabouts?
All over the Northeast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So went to Farrell Elementary. How about you?
I went to St. Leo's Elementary, a Catholic school, and which is a very good story. My father was a veteran of World War II, landed at Normandy, all that. So when I was in kindergarten, a nun kept me after school, and I had to walk home. And it was about a mile through the city of Philadelphia, and I'm 5. Right? So my father went over to the school. My father wasn't raised Catholic, and my father used words that I'm sure he hasn't used since the Battle of the Bulge when there were shells dropping on his head, to express to this nun why she should never do that again. And it was very effective, but I was only there for kindergarten and first grade. And we moved to Ben Salem. We were in Andalusia, legendary Andalusia.
Absolutely. Yep.
And
know it well.
went to school there, and then Archbishop Bryan High School.
Ooh, I don't know if we're going to be allowed to talk any longer. I'm a Washington boy myself.
Oh, Washington.
But
well,
we'll let it go.
It's pretty remote. That was public school. We didn't have time for those publican kids.
No, that's right. That's right.
Those heathens. Oh, those poor heathens. They can't enjoy the guilt we do.
But those football games were legendary.
When I got there, there was Archbishop Bryan had just started. There was no senior class. My first year. That's how early I was there.
Okay.
I graduated in '71, and so the first year our sports were terrible. We lose every game, and you know, and we're up there making up cheers and stuff like "we suck." We're like, what?
So much for school spirit.
Faculty's looking around. Wait a minute, who started that? Give me a W. Give me an E. Give me an S. You know, we don't know how to spell. That's your fault. Just blame the faculty.
It's a lot of tuition to pay to not be able to spell.
Yeah, really. What a failure. Oh, this is terrible.
So then what came next after high school? Where were you?
I was at Bucks Community College for a little while.
Okay.
And then, like I said, I went to transfer and out to Northwestern. And then, of course, I got derailed. And instead of going to a university, I was studying with theater companies and instructors and stuff like that. Got completely engrossed in that world.
Interesting. So at what point did you switch over to teaching?
Oh, when I was with Chicago City Limits, it was part of what we did.
Yeah.
We would run workshops.
Oh, okay. So you were.
Yeah.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was all just ingrained into you almost. Once you joined that troupe.
Especially once we established our own location. We had a theater where we were performing regularly. Yeah. Well, if you're as part of your income, you start workshops and you have students coming in, and from those workshops, you're going to get people for your touring company.
Sure.
That builds the whole business and all that. And it was funny when I started teaching.
This wasn't called Amway by any chance, was it?
No. That's a whole nother career. But I'm not legally allowed to talk about it. I'm not. But anyway, it was funny with Chicago City Limits. When I started teaching, I realized how much I wanted them to succeed. And they did. And the students were like, came up to me one time after class and said, "We don't want to study with anybody else. We want to study with you." And I was like,
that's a huge compliment.
Don't say that out loud. Someone will shoot me. But the reason for that was I was so enthusiastic. I couldn't wait to see people succeed. It was, for me. And if I made a mistake, I would admit it. Sure. Like somebody argued with me about a note I gave, and I went, "Oh no, you're right. You were bringing out more of the character. You weren't denying anything. Okay, yeah." And people are like, He what? He took back a note? It's like, I'm just here to make this work. And guess what? I'm learning too.
Yeah.
I don't know everything.
Right.
I'm learning how to be a
None of us
teacher.
know. Sure.
And this is really cool. And I like it a lot. And they're like, he actually is making this fun and continuously tells us we're safe. Go ahead, make a risk, don't worry about it. And he'll fix whatever goes wrong.
Sure.
Well, that's my job.
Right, and provide honest feedback so that they can succeed.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny how, especially in today's environment, I see a lot of individuals who say that they're either leaders, but they're really just trying to cut people down and elevate themselves by doing so.
Yeah.
But what the values that you're instilling and the way you're demonstrating that you want to see your students and proteges succeed, that says a lot about you as an individual.
Well, it's a huge empowerment because you realize it comes back. My students have done things for me. They're there for me when I need them. And you know, people that I worked with, they realize what I was like to work with, especially when I got with the First Amendment improv company. People I didn't know that well. I only was performing with them for a short time. Said, "You're really fun to work with." This one woman, Nancy, said, "You don't care if we're going down in flames. You won't give up. You won't." I said, "Well, why would I? I'm not going to step out there unless it's 100%."
Sure.
And it's the same thing when I'm teaching. I'm not going to come to this class unless I'm really prepared to make this work.
So, have you ever had to have that hard discussion with a student? Sorry, Joe, you're just not cut out for this line of work.
Well, I've had people ask me that.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you really think I make? Well, you're doing well as far as you're learning the technique, but you can't teach talent.
Yeah.
You know,
Either you have it or you
at some
don't.
point, it's like I would say you'd have to audition for things, and then you'll find out, right? I can't tell you whether you have it or not because what am I supposed to do? Cut your legs off?
Right.
No.
Right.
You know, you have to get out there and try it. But you could see there were some people when the light went on and they realized they could do it. Did they also have the talent underneath? Because that's something you can't measure.
Right.
Some people can be very good technically at what they do. It's like a musician. Someone can learn, I can read the notes and do that, but then there's someone who can sit down at the piano and they become one with it.
Sure.
And it's just magic.
Sure.
It goes, they and the piano become one instrument. And it's the same thing with performing. An actor or a comedian who can just bring out so much power.
Yeah.
Kate McKinnon on Saturday Night Live. I'm a big fan of hers because she doesn't leave anything in the dressing room. She is 100% committed to everything she does, and it's because she's responsible for all that talent she has.
Sure.
I'm not leaving any of this behind. I mean, you're so fortunate to be that talented. You don't leave anything behind.
Right.
You always give.
That takes a lot of tremendous insight also.
Yeah.
And you need to know yourself really well so you can build on the comedy, you can build on the story and what might be too off limits for you as an individual versus not.
Exactly. Right. And you the power of it, when you get up there on stage, I would have an audience in the palm of my hand.
Sure.
Because I'm listening.
Yeah.
I'm listening to them. I know what they like. I know which direction to go in. And I know how to wink at them when I need to. It's like, we are in this together.
Yeah.
You're coming with me right now.
Yeah.
And he's talking directly to me. Each individual in the room, that's how you perform. That's how you do public speaking, of course, they tell you. Right? Well, that's how I perform. I'm talking to everybody in the room. And this is for you. And this is my gift, right? Your gift is the laughter that comes back to me. There's a little symbiotic relationship we got going. It is great. This is wonderful. And if you have that energy, what I've done in performance sometimes when I know exactly what I can do with my next move, and I know exactly what it's going to do to the audience, it's a ridiculous feeling of power. You're like you're walking 3 feet off the ground after the show, and it's just I just was a human being for a minute.
Yeah.
At the most I could be as a human being.
And you said something really, really important a minute ago, and just want the listeners to, or the viewers actually, not listeners, viewers to understand for a moment, which was listen. Yeah. You know, How often, now this is a bigger social commentary in today's environment, but let's go back to the 70s, 80s, 60s. Are we listening less today than we have been in the past? Or is it about the same? Or have things really not changed
Well,
significantly?
as far as our society is concerned, it seems like people are afraid to listen. Because if they do, they might hear something they don't want to hear and agree with.
That's an interesting take.
Yeah, and then, sometimes it's difficult, but I'll read an article or something that goes against my point of view, but it's like, okay, I will do that because I need to listen to that other voice. I need to know why somebody is taking that position. And if I do know that, then where can I meet them?
Sure.
How can I connect? Where can I meet them? What can we possibly do to make this better? I don't see people making a lot of effort now. We talk about division in this country all the time.
Sure.
And it's because people are like, well, no, I can't possibly show any weakness, so I must surround myself with everyone who agrees with me and just listen to the echo constantly. The echo is not going to help you persuade somebody else because you don't know what they're thinking.
You're both on different quadrants,
What are their fears? Somebody is doing something that you find extremely disturbing. Well, what are they afraid of?
Yeah.
What makes them do that? Because they're acting from fear. They're acting from confusion, ignorance possibly, and you have to find the way to get through all of those barriers that person has in front of them.
Yeah.
They might actually be a very good person.
I find comedy can be a great uniter.
It is, yeah.
Thank you, Bill. It was a
Thank you
pleasure
for having
you
me
here.
This is great.
I'm Dr. Rakesh Shah. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you on the next episode.